All right, so my dear friend, the great Newt Gingrich, is writing, "We must stop the Republican tax increases." He joins us now. Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, great mentor and friend. Newt, I riffed at the top of the show that I do not believe Mr. Trump will raise these taxes. I just don't flat out believe it. I went back and read the Bloomberg article that was the cause of some consternation yesterday. There's so many holes in it. But I know he listens to things, but he doesn't agree to them. But what do you think? I mean, maybe you've spoken to him recently.
No, not on this topic.
Right.
Look, I start from the fact that some of George H.W. Bush's advisors talked him into breaking his word when he said, "Read my lips, no new taxes."
Yep.
When he came out for a tax increase, a majority of the House Republicans voted no and defeated his bill in the first round. I think that President Trump is a Reagan Republican, not a Bush Republican.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very unlikely that he would do this, but it would be a disaster. I don't think you could pass a reconciliation bill with a tax increase. You have 185 House Republicans and 44 Senate Republicans who have signed a no tax increase pledge. Now, that is a big number, and they're not going to turn around passively, particularly because it's going to hit small business. You cannot raise the marginal tax rate on billionaires and write it in such a way that you aren't crippling rising young professionals,
right,
and you aren't crippling small businesses.
Right.
So, I mean, if you want to kill the economy, what they ought to do is the opposite. They ought to make all of the tax cuts revert to January 20th, not just building factories, but the other things, so that people would feel immediately this summer the great virtue of having these tax cuts, because they'd fill them in their pocket this summer, not next year. That would do a tremendous amount. And, of course, the other thing you mentioned, which I feel very strongly about, tariffs are taxes. I happen to favor tariffs for trading purposes, but that means you're raising revenue out of the tariff. That revenue should come back in the form of a tax cut.
Yes.
And you can do it in a variety of ways. But if you'll say every year we're going to take all the tariff money, count it as a pay for whatever tax cut, and then year after year gradually wind our way out of the income tax over, probably take 10, 15 years. But you could ultimately be a country with no income tax based upon combination of fiscal frugality, don't spend more than you bring in, and being willing to take tariff money, and which is, by the way, what people like Thomas Jefferson did and believed in and were proud of.
Well, look, I think let's parse through some of these issues. Your point, 44 senators have signed the no tax pledge. So if there are tax increases in some kind of new White House bill, I mean, there aren't any tax increases in the House and Senate budget resolutions, as far as I know. I mean, there are revenue floors and spending ceilings, but they're not assuming tax hikes in that. If all of a sudden the White House starts crusading for that, you got 44 senators that signed on to Grover Norquist's no tax pledge. That would ruin reconciliation. That would be a total catastrophe. You'd get nothing. You wouldn't get spending. You wouldn't get taxes. What you'd get is you'd hand over the keys to the Congress to the Democrats.
Or you'd come back with reconciliation too. Take out any plausible tax increase and pass the rest of it. I mean, this would be such an act of destruction. And I agree with you. I think President Trump listens to everybody. I always tell people he listens pretty well, he just doesn't obey. And then he goes off and does what he wants to. I cannot imagine the president as a businessman who's been through recessions, he's been through hard times. I can't imagine him saying, "Oh yeah, let's go raise taxes," knowing that will absolutely shatter his coalition. It will mean the entire conservative movement would rise in rebellion. And it means every small business in the country would start recalculating who are they going to have to lay off? Are they even going to be able to stay in business? It would make no sense at all. But I can understand why you have a handful of pollsters and advisors who think they're clever. And they want to play this game of saying, oh, look, you know, the Democrats won't be able to attack us on a tax cut for billionaires because look what we're doing. That's nonsense. Democrats lie. The Democrats, it doesn't matter what we put in the bill, they're going to lie about it.
Well, yeah.
We have to learn to tell the truth better then they can lie.
I mean, Republicans could raise the top rate by 20 percentage points. Democrats would still call it tax cuts for the rich. I mean, and they would still say
That's exactly right.
you're destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, which is what Joe Biden said yesterday. His whole speech, his new speech or whatever, he made it through a half-hour whoop-de-doo, and all he did was saying Republicans are going to destroy Social Security, which has nothing to do with anything, because Trump has said a million times he's going to preserve Social Security. And in fact, Elon Musk and his Doge lieutenants taking out the waste, fraud, and abuse and so forth will prolong Social Security and will make it healthier, for heaven's sakes.
Nothing will save Medicare and Social Security more than economic growth. You
Yes.
get enough economic
Yes.
growth, and this problem will gradually disappear. And that's the key. Get the economy growing, and you do not get the economy growing by raising taxes on entrepreneurs and on small businesses. That would be madness.
Newt, last minute or so. I'm more on the revenues, the tariff revenues. That's a very important point. I don't want to let it slip. But whatever the number's going to be, I don't know what it's going to be. But whatever, if it's $300 billion or whatever, they'll make an estimate. Why shouldn't that? The principle of the thing is what you're getting at. Turn it over to the taxpayers, right? Turn it over to the small businesses or the taxpayers that may have to pay a little more. That's the principle, right?
Look, well, sure. You could establish a simple principle that says, if you want to be very cautious, at the end of each year, we will look at how much we raised that year out of tariffs, and that amount will automatically go into the tax cut for the following year. Now, that would be a very cautious way to do it, but it would guarantee it. I try to remind people, Jefferson's second inaugural, 1805, he is proud of the fact, and he says this in the inaugural, no American ever sees a domestic revenue agent because we don't collect any domestic taxes. Our money comes from the wealthy who can afford to buy things from overseas who pay a tariff.
Yes.
This is Jefferson in 1805. So this is not a new idea. This is at the heart of the American model.
It's a terrific
Don't
idea.
tax the American people. Let them keep their money.
And we were both there for the inaugural. That's the best part of it. Newt Gingrich.
I remember talking to Jefferson about it the night before. I thought it was a good document.
Newt Gingrich, you're fabulous. Thank you so much for your wisdom. We appreciate it. All right.